Okay. So every day, an average American spends four and a half hours watching TV, 2.5 hours online, and another 2.5 hours on their smartphones, according to the statistics portal Statista. So clearly, media is a giant part of our lives. But what if I told you we're not just aimlessly surfing the web or channels? According to the uses and gratification theory of communication, people use specific media for specific reasons. In the past, there have been speculations and theories of people being victims to powerful mass media. So this theory was created to disprove speculations of influential media. Everyone in this room is a consumer, so it's important to know that we are active agents who pick and choose media for specific reasons. As a communication major with a concentration in media production and criticism, I have wondered about the effects of media, but this theory caught my attention because it focuses on the audience rather than the media. So learning about the uses and gratification theory today may help us understand ourselves more as an audience member and a consumer. First, I will share with you how UGT came about. Second, I will discuss the basic information behind the theory. And lastly, what kind of needs were gratified through media and why. To fully understand the uses and gratification theory, it is important to know how it came about. The theorists Elihu Katz, J.P. Blumer, and Michael Gurevich created this theory to disprove the idea of a mindless audience. According to the author of the textbook Introducing Communication Theory, Richard West, the mass society theory was in place before UGT and stated that average people are victims of the powerful forces of mass media. Then, the limited effects theory replaced it and gave audience members some more credit. It stated that media effects are limited by the aspects of audience members' personal and social lives. A few years later, UGT came along and it gave consumers more self-awareness as an audience and full responsibilities for receiving media messages. In the words of communication expert Dr. Finn, UGT is not a multidimensional theory. It is pretty simple and straightforward. Simply, it states that audience members are active agents that seek out specific media to generate specific results. Now that you understand why UGT was created, I can move on to basic information about the theory itself. The uses and gratification theory gives a framework for understanding when and how consumers become more or less active in media and the consequences that come with that level of involvement. To better understand, there are five basic assumptions of UGT. First, we must assume that the audience is active and its media use is goal-oriented. By assuming this, we can understand what a certain consumer picks and why. Second, the initiative to link need gratification to a specific medium choice rests with the audience member. For those who don't know, medium is just the singular version of media, so an example of that would just be like Facebook. The second assumption means no one else can decide for the audience member why they are choosing what they choose. Third, media competes with other sources for need satisfaction. There are multiple media out there that serve the same purpose. For instance, it's a constant competition between Facebook and Twitter. Fourth, people have enough self-awareness of their media use and motives to be able to provide researchers with an accurate picture of that use. This just means that the data researchers collect will be reliable. And lastly, only the audience can assess value judgments of media content. In other words, the media content cannot tell you how valuable it is. You have to decide that for yourself. To wrap up the assumptions, consumers get to choose how involved they are with media and understand the consequences that come with their level of involvement. Now let's apply all this information by talking about us, the audience. My final and most important section of the uses and gratification theory is specifically why we watch what we watch. There are four main needs that audience members seek to satisfy when using media: diversion, personal relationship, personal identity, and surveillance. Consumers are aware of what they seek when asked. For example, many women say they watch soap operas for emotional release and for wishful thinking, according to Richard West. The first need, diversion, is when people want to escape routines and daily problems. The second need, personal relationship, is when people substitute media for companionship. So whether it's the use of social media or just And then the third one, personal identity, reinforces an individual's values. So if you're a Democrat, watching a show like The Morning Joe on MSNBC could reinforce those values. And then lastly, surveillance is when media provides information to help you accomplish something. If I wanted to learn how to cook a nice meal, I could go on the Food Network and it would teach me how. These four needs are important because they specifically describe why we seek out specific media. To conclude, next time you watch TV, you will catch yourself thinking about why you chose that show or movie. For most of us, we've had a long, tiresome day, and finally getting into bed and putting on some Netflix is a great way to satisfy diversion. So in the beginning, I spoke about the uses and gratification theory, how it was created by Sears to counteract the mass society theory. Then I talked about 5 assumptions of UGT. And lastly, I touched on 4 specific needs